Hey guys, so this is Joey or Rowan. This is going to be the continuation of the Blue Moon SPAT videos. This is talking about rituals, and I had to make a couple of other videos first this morning and some weird goings on this morning, so I haven't just got round to it. Nearly 2 in the afternoon, but we shall continue with this. Now I was thinking about how I'm going to structure these because I wanted to follow the 9 layouts of basic components of Wiccan ritual as set out in Scott Cunningham's book, which I mentioned in the other video. But I was looking at this and thinking, whilst it's a really good list to go through, I thought, well, that's not where I would start. It starts with purification of self and doesn't mention whether you should have set your altar up first, whether your space should be ready, tidying and cleaning your house physically, things like that first. So I'm going to just start having a quick talk about that, and then I will go back to purification of self. So, okay, I have briefly mentioned purification of self in my protection and cleansing of negativity video, and that is applicable here. So if, you know, this is with regards to ritual cleansing yourself. But before you do that, it is worth remembering that you are going into ritual for a specific purpose. You have seen my altar pretty much done days beforehand. Altar makeup and creating your altar in honor of the goddess or one of the sabbats if you follow them, etc. Or your particular reason for doing the setup of the altar will affect how you set it up. So for the Blue Moon SPAT, I have a blue and silver altar cloth. I have the 2 silver and white goddess candles because the full moon SPAT is a time to honour her more so than the god. I have seashells in my cauldron. I have SPAT appropriate herbs. You've seen that I've made my incense. So I have made all these preparations bit by bit by bit well in advance, so it's ready to go. So before you start thinking about doing your ritual, I would start thinking about it in terms of making sure your home, particularly if you're going to do a ritual inside, the room in which you're going to do it is clean, tidy, dusted, vacuumed, washed, everything, because Cunningham suggests that purification of space comes after purification of self. Well, if you're going to give your room a great big overhauly clean, I don't know about you, but I can get quite warm and sweaty doing that, and then you've kind of purified yourself just to make yourself a mess again. So I would go back and say that you need to do initial preparations first. So clean your room, vacuum your room, dust your room, make it an inviting place to be. And the reason I say this is because put yourself as if you were in the goddess's shoes, right? You're someone you care very much about. So say it's a family member, man or woman you love, or your best friend even, invites you round for coffee and whatever, a chat, you know, and you've been looking forward to it and you like connecting with them, and you go there and their house is a state and there's a whole pile of dirty dishes and you can't see where a clean cup's going to come from for you to have a drink with them, and there's dust everywhere, dirty clothes everywhere. How would that make you feel? Be a bit ugh. And it's about the same sort of feeling to show that you are respecting the goddess in the blue moon aspect specifically. You are respecting the goddess by saying, well, this is my home, it's all clean, it's ready for you, and it's shifting out that negativity as well. Any everyday negativity, any dirt, any blah, blah, blah. So you're getting rid of all of that. Give the room in particular, and I would suggest the whole house, a good clean. If you are able to do ritual in your own house, anybody who lives with you is going to have to know that this is time when you need quiet and to be left alone. Turn your phone off, switch the house phone off if you can, to give yourself the maximum chance of being able to step into that other sacred space, into the realm of the goddess, without outside distractions trying to interrupt. Sometimes it can't be helped, there are emergencies, whatever. I've had it with my other half where I've gone to meditate and I should have said something to him and he shouted at something on the computer and that interrupted what I was doing. He felt awful, he didn't mean to interrupt me at all, but it was my fault because I didn't tell him what I was going to go do. So anybody else in the house needs to know. If you're outside, it's different, obviously. But if you're outside in a space, you want to make sure that the area is cleansed, that you're not going to be interrupted. Nobody's going to come walking across you. It should be a private place. And you obviously need everything packed up, ready to go if you're going outside. I'm not, so I will go through as I'm doing it inside. I've explained briefly why I can't go outside, and it's basically because the moon will fully rise out the front and it's not private, basically, for me to go out the front. I could go out the back if it was late enough at night, but so I'm gonna be inside, and I'll try and, because I can actually sort of see the moon from that window, so there we go. So you want to start off by making sure your room is ready if you're inside. So your altar is set up and ready to go, all the tools that you need are there, that maybe if you're burning incense, you've got your incense ready, you've got everything you need, that you're not going to go in and create space and suddenly realise you've forgotten X, Y, and Z and it's in the other room. So just think ahead of what everything is ready. I tend to keep everything in there and in the same room as my altar anyway, so it doesn't matter so much because all I have to do is open the drawer that's right next to it. I mean, I tend to move my altar into the centre of the space. I think it'll have to say where it is this time, and I'll just have to move things into the light of the moon if I can manage it, because that window should, fingers crossed, allow some moonlight in. Again, weather dependent, so it might not. So okay, so that is my very first step. Make sure everything you need is ready to go. And it sounds simple, but your ritual, once you get into the flow of it, you're not going to want to come out again and whatever. Now, I tend to have more than one shower or bath before I go into ritual. I'll have my shower or whatever in the morning, but in the evening I will either, well, let me think about it. Okay, what I would suggest you do, you don't have to do this, it's just, oh my, sorry, it's misbehaving. So I have the purification bath first, and then I shower afterwards to make, if there's any loose bits that's washed off, to wash my hair because I can't do that in a bath, and shave and everything else to make sure that I am fully cleansed and ready for the experience. Now I have the cleansing bath first, and I have some cleansing purifying blend here, and I will talk about that in a second. And then what I do when I'm in the shower is I visualise it being white light as well. So you're washing away any excess bits and pieces, but you're also imagining it as white light cleansing through you and pushing it away. So I do both. to make sure that I'm fully clean and all the rest of it. That's just me. You could just have the bath, up to you entirely. So I'm going to read a little bit from this book, Wicker by Scott Cunningham, whose book I am going through step by step in my ritual guide, because he lays it out in a really nice simple way, and I could have gone through this as I go through it, which is slightly different perhaps to this, and I will point out where I'm slightly different, like I just did with the shower, and setup would be my number one, which isn't in this. But I've decided to go with this book because it's an easy, accessible book for beginners. So if people need something physical written down to get their hands on to help them, as well as the videos, which makes sense because you can, I know I like books and you can underline and highlight and whatever. So I decided that it would be easiest to set up this as if it was just for beginners. There might be non-beginners that like to look at how other people do things, how other people structure things. Now, obviously, this book is Wicca. I follow a lot of the Wiccan stuff, not all of it. Wicca is where I started, and a lot of it still makes sense and I still carry with me, but I have grown and I keep growing and adding to my path as a witch, and that may well happen to you. So, you know, if you're really not interested in Wicca, that's fair enough. It might not be the book for you, but it's worth reading and it's a lovely ritual setup. So I'll read a bit from this. He suggests different ways of purifying yourself other than bathing, and highlights the fact that you need to purify your thoughts as well as your body. Ooh, and oh no, I just shut the book. Right. There we go. Right. So, for the beginner in particular, and in fact at all, suggest that ritual bathing is the easiest and most potent way of cleansing yourself of negativity. And I agree that you need to shift your mind focus, but I think this helps. So this is my Bright Goddess Purifying Blend. The original one was sent to me by a friend, and then I expanded on it and created my own and put it in the same bag. Now, this has many uses. You can use this as an incense, and it works beautifully as a purifying incense. And you can also use this as a purifying bath. Oh, excuse me 1 second. Oh, there's nothing like being prepared, is there? Right. So I got this sachet for Paying Your Dreams for 69p because I mean the colour is appropriate. You could have white as well, and it will go in the bath and you can put your bits and pieces in it and they won't be loose. If you can't do that, you can put them in loose. So this is my purifying blend. Oh, the camera actually picked that up quite well. Good. I was worried for a second there. Right. It's a nice big bag, so we should be able to... It smells yummy. Right. The base of this and what it's mostly made up of is sea salt. Now the sea salt I use is the ones from the supermarket, generally speaking, because I live absolutely nowhere near the sea. It's not feasible for me to go to the sea regularly. I mentioned in my video that I go once or twice a year. So this or rock salt, or any salt, in fact, nearly throwing my glass up there. You can use any salt. If you only have table salt available to you, it's still salt. Salt is one of the most cleansing and purifying things within the craft, and therefore, you know, utilise it. So you could do this by popping it in your mortar and pestle and crushing a little, or you could just pop it in a bowl and stir it. That's fine. You don't have to crush things up. I don't tend to crush the salt up at all. So I might, you know, crush some herbs and then add the salt. So in this is rose petal, lavender, copal resin, frankincense. There is some oak bark, rosemary. Rosemary is a really good one for cleansing and purifying yourself, as is frankincense. Bay leaf, and that might be it. Bay leaf is really great as well. There might be some dragon's blood resin in here, knowing me. But generally speaking, bay leaf, rosemary, rose petal and lavender. Those are the top 4 that are really easy to come by. Frankincense as well is quite easy to come by, but rose petal, bay leaf, rosemary and lavender, and then salt as your base. So just show you again what that camera's not being so friendly now, but that's the purifying goddess blend that I have. Now I've said those 4 things and then salt because they are the easiest to come by. Bay and rosemary if you can't get hold of lavender, and rose petals. I mean, rose petal and lavender are quite available in sort of potpourri places that sell potpourri and things like that. But if you can't get hold of those, rosemary, bay leaf are available in all shops, as in supermarkets and things. And then salt, any kind of salt. So if you can only get hold of bay leaf and rosemary, don't worry, they're really good in cleansing. It's just personal preference and smell. Although I'm sure that you know, bay leaf and rosemary will smell nice. So gonna have to go get some water in a minute. So you create your blend the same way that you might create an incense, and as I said, this is multifunctional. You can use it for both, and I do. Waste not, want not. I might make some more incense today. Feeling crafty. So then if you have running water and you're putting it in loose, hold it, cup it in your hands, and imagine white light going through the mixture, glowing it. You could ask the goddess, you know, goddess or your matron or patron goddess or whatever, please bless this herbal mixture so that I may cleanse myself in your honour, or something along those lines. Now I just made that up off the top of my head, so just something simple like, and put your heart into it. Imagine that having white light glowing through, and then just drop it into the bath. Or you could do the same thing and then pop it in a sachet like this one, which is 69p again from Pagan Dreams, which of course you can get the herbs and things on as well. So I'm going to do that, put it in this, and then pop that in the bath. When you're in the bath, I mean, a friend said to me, being fully submerged even for a second is the most potent way of doing it. Now, I have a shower as well, so I don't have to fully submerge myself because I'm going to make sure that all the negativity is gone, and that is a safer way to do it, in my opinion. Especially if you live by yourself, you don't want to, you know, slip and bang your head or anything like that and get yourself into trouble. So from a safety point of view, I would recommend doing it the way I do it, which is to have your bath, fill it up as much as you can, and then use your little cleansing in your sachet or loose. You can imagine what the bath water glowing white as well. And then when you get in it, go in for a good long time until you feel cleansed. It soaks the negativity away. It's pulling all the negativity and everyday out of you. You start to cleanse your thoughts as well, so you sort of focus, cleanse, if that, you know, on a single word, if that's a way of doing it, or just focusing on switching your mind from everyday chatter that goes on in your head. What are we having for dinner? What time's my favourite TV show on? I don't know. Chatter, 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 and it just, you have to go into the bath with the idea of shutting that down as well, so it just becomes spiritual, calm. And I have a shower afterwards as well. Visualize it as white light and cleanse all the negativity, and imagine all the negativity running down the drain. Enjoy your purification bath. It's part of the ritual process. Go in there to have a nice relaxing bath. So there is that. If you want to cleanse yourself with a smudge stick or incense after you come out the bath, you could have that on the side somewhere ready to go, and then you can light it and just smudge yourself as well. And then what I do is I put on the clothing which I am going to wear for the ritual in the bathroom. So that is like, it's a transformation basically. You go into the bathroom, you're washing away all the negativity, you're changing your mindset, you're getting ready to go into ritual. And then when I step out, and if I've smudged myself, sometimes I put my clothing on and then come smudge myself in the other room, just to double whammy, make sure there's nothing hanging around or whatever. And so I go have my shower and bath and put my ritual clothing on, and then come to the other room and then smudge myself with my smudge stick. At which point, the second part of this comes into place, which is purification of space, where Scott Cunningham says, outdoor ritual spaces rarely have to be purified, indoor, however, require it. Because most living spaces accumulate astral garbage, pockets of negativity, etc. from human habitations. At which point he suggests you clean your place physically, but I would have said no, do that first so you're not going to get hot and sweaty again, especially when it's been quite warm. So then I would go along with my smudge stick and smudge the negativity out of the room. I also open the window to allow the element of air in, and I ask each element as I go around the room to help me cleanse the room. So I will take my smudge stick, which I don't have to hand, but never mind. So my sage smudge stick, and go around the room in a clockwise direction, starting in the east. And as I'm in the east, I do the banishing pentagram and ask the element of air to blow through this home and blow through me and blow away all negativity, or something to that effect. And then smudge round and round to the south and ask the fire to metaphorically burn through this house and me, burning off all negativity. To the west, and ask water to metaphorically wash through this house and wash through me and not allow any negativity to remain. Then to the north, and ask earth to ground away all negativity, whether it's in this house or if it's in me or whatever. And then go back to the start, and so may it be, banishing pentagram in each, which is starting from the bottom in each corner, and then to the middle, where I ask for spirit to aid me and to lift the energies to a higher resonation of positive resonating energies rather than negative ones. There are some other things you can do. You might chant, suggests Cunningham. You might burn a simple herb with clearing properties such as frankincense, myrrh, sage, thyme or rosemary, alone or in combination. Yeah, blah blah blah. Right. If you don't have a smudge stick, you can use a loose incense. If you don't have that, you can use stick incense. If you don't have any incenses and you can't get hold of them, although, you know, the stick incenses are pretty easy to come by. But you can still visualize white light from your projective hand and project into each corner of the room, as well as when you're going around, and just projecting white light around the room and being out negativity, and put your force behind your voice, like I've said before, and be like, and push with your energy because you want this space to be cleansed. If you go have a look at my purification and protection from negativity video, I cover it in a lot more depth and a lot more detail, and there are a lot of different suggestions. So this is just covering the fact that these 2 steps that I've now covered, because they're kind of joint, need to be done before you start ritual. And actually it's 3, because I mentioned that I would not start with a purification of self. I would start with organising first and cleaning your room physically first, and then having the bath or shower or both. Yeah, so then you move on to creating sacred space, and I'm going to have a whole video for that by itself. This one is 25 minutes long already. So why do we cleanse ourselves and cleanse our spaces? Well, you're going in to commune with the goddess. No matter what you're going to go and do in there, whether you're going to honour her, which what you should be doing, whether you're going to speak to her, whether you're going to do divination rites, which is asking the goddess for answers, or if you're going to do a spell work, which is asking the goddess for something gift-wise, you want it to be a cleansed space without negativity in. You want it to be her and you and a pleasant environment, and you don't want to be carrying negativity within yourself or within your space. So we cleanse ourselves through the methods aforementioned. There are more, but this is how I do it. And through cleansing your home after you've tidied it all up previously. So you are basically making sure that the place that you're inviting your goddess into is a pleasant, positive, welcoming environment, because that's what this is all about, welcoming the goddess into your life. So that was the first one in my Esbat Blue Moon ritual go-throughs. I have discussed in the other video why we do ritual, and this is just getting into it. There will be more as we go through the steps. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that made sense. Any questions, any view responses, post them below. I love to hear from you. And I hope you have a very blessed day. Blessings, Rowan.